What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Diehard MMA podcast. I am your host. My name is Clint, and I am happy to be chilling with you on yet another Monday evening. How are we doing? We've only got about 20 people rolling in so far tonight. That's okay. That's all right. We know it's going to be a bit of a slow night. There is no UFC event this week, so we're having a bit more of a relaxed episode. Just me and the boys. We're not having a guest this week. We're just chilling. We're going to talk about the Bellator light heavyweight tournament, and then I think we can talk a little bit about the main event of Bellator 255. I will be upfront and completely honest with all of you. Your boy needs a break. It's been a really rough run. It's been a lot of weeks back to back to back, and I've just been grinding every single week and coming off a really, really disappointing loss at UFC 260. And I'm going to take the opportunity to have a little bit of a mental vacation here. So I did my homework for the Bellator light heavyweight tournament. I did my homework for the main event. And y'all know me. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to have action, I'm sure, for the Bellator 255 card on Saturday. However, I am not prepared to do a full-scale breakdown of the entire card, so forgive me for that, but we will, I'll get back to you all on Twitter if I do have any plays, if I do have any action that I end up locking in, so make sure you give me a follow over there. That is at Diehard MMA Pod on Twitter. How's everybody doing? So we've got Grateful Dude chilling in the chat all ready to go, and I am super pumped to see Rumble Johnson back in the cage myself. Absolutely. One of the most exciting parts. There we go. The stupid screen click thing wasn't working. Couldn't get the comment up there. One of the biggest things I want to see about this tournament is what Rumble Johnson is going to look like. He was absolutely one of my favorite UFC fighters before he hung up the gloves. And I don't feel like he ever really did himself justice. You know what I mean? He, kind of sputtered out, got himself all the way back to the title shot. And then when he had that second opportunity against Daniel Cormier, he already had one foot in the grave, man. He had no interest. He didn't have a good game plan. He phoned it in. He knew he was hanging it up, win or lose after that fight. So really, really bummed out that Rumble Johnson went out the way that he did. Excited to see him back, but we'll see if he's really got that fire, if he just needs a paycheck. Rexley in the house, what's up, buddy? Thank you very much. Always looking out for me and that like button. I do appreciate it. Help me out. Smash the like button. It helps the show, helps out odds. And of course, we're always bringing you this damn good MMA content and sports betting content, basically covering everything. That like button helps out a lot. John Darville, what's going on, buddy? Elite Shadow. We've got Subat Mohammed. We've got Jose Lopez. Greco Nero, we've got Ken Knowles, and we've got Elite Shadow 47. Parlay the Russians. Hey, that's not a bad strategy. So when it comes to Bellator 255, it's chalky, man. Like, I'm not, again, I talked about it. I'm not going to break down the whole card, but what we see with Bellator is chalk. It's a bunch of bum fights. You get a small handful of elite fighters, and then they just feed them these prospects that either just aren't ready yet. You know, they're not up to stuff yet. They're not up to the level yet, or they're fighters that are on a downswing. They're just getting a couple paychecks at the end of their career. So the real legit fighters are like minus 400, minus 500. You can do some damage in Bellator just parlaying all the big favorites because they almost always come through. MMA Locker Room, what's up, buddy? Shout out to the Diehard Horde here. How's everybody doing? Ben Asplund, what is this? What is this? I don't know. Have you never been to the show before? What do you mean, what is this? Live breaking down sports betting content, Ben, my friend. Thank you for hanging out if it's your first time watching. We're talking about the Bellator light heavyweight tournament this week. We're going to break down the main event for Bellator 255, and that's it. It's a short week because, you know, the UFC is off this week, and boy needs a brain break here. A shout out from Costa Rica. Love hearing that. Thank you for joining me, and I love the poker chip profile picture. Your boy is starving to play some poker. It's been eating at me. I can't wait till the COVID stuff is all over and done with so we can go back to some normalcy, because I am ready to play some poker. I need to feel that felt, the cards, the chips. Your boy's a gambler. I need it. Got to have it. And yeah, the Fortune fight appears to be off. Locker Room coming in here letting everybody know. How's everybody doing? All right. So first off, we're going to go ahead and do a little recap of last week's action. And as you all know, more than likely, if you follow me on Twitter, I did end up posting a slight loss, which was incredibly disappointing. So I shouted from the rooftops, Francis Ngannou, future king and new. I did have a double up bet spot on him, and then I had a half unit on the first round knockout, and that's really what ended up getting me. I went minus 0.35 units, so essentially breaking even, but painful. Just that slight little baby loss. Couldn't it have been a slight win? I needed a slight win, but I had a slight loss instead, so that hurt. And that half unit on the round one finish, if I had just avoided that, we're in positive land, so that's upsetting. Had a couple Hail Mary parlays, and again, that's, I probably need to stop doing those. Your optimal bettors, your professional gamblers, they don't do those Hail Mary parlays all the damn time like I do, so that's probably something I should cut out of my game, and we'd have some positive units on these close scraping by type of nights. But as you all know, I am not a professional gambler. I'm a professional degenerate, and I know my MMA. So we had fun, and it bit us a little bit at UFC 260. Oleksiejczuk versus Bukauskas under 2.5 at minus 150. This is one of those spots where we got to talk about in sports betting. There is a lot of variance involved. There's a shit ton of variance involved, especially in MMA, probably more so than a lot of other sports. And that's a spot that I absolutely would go back to. The way those guys came out and fought, the way they went after it in the first round, they cranked it up again in the second round. I mean, even in the third round, they were going for it. It was a slugfest. They both landed some big shots. They were both hurt at one point in the fight, and neither guy fell. Like that, in full hindsight, I don't hate that bet. I'd make it again. I think that was a good bet, and it just didn't go our way. So that was highly unfortunate to drop 3 units on the Oleksiejczuk Bukauskas under 2.5 because I really thought that one was going to get done. I had a late read add-on with Kama Worthy. That one hurts. Azatar must have just taken what's left of that dude's durability, and he did get banked straight on the button. That was unfortunate because that's another spot where in the UFC, there's such a little margin for error with these fighters. If that shot is just ever so slightly off, he probably takes it, survives, and then we keep on rolling and we're live to win that bet. But it just landed flush. It was just, first punch of the damn fight put him down. But we do have to take into account the fact that Kama Worthy's shown some durability issues in the past. And after having back-to-back early knockouts the way that he has, I think we just got to put him on the shelf. We gotta just, Ben, we just got to stop touching Kama Worthy. I thought this was a spot where he might have been able to do it. His opponent had a bad weight cut. That was really the thing that pushed me towards betting him here. But that chin, that durability, he goes in the bad durability trash bin. As much of a fan as I am of that guy, and I hope he wins, I want to see him wins. Honestly, he probably shifts and gets back on the horse his next fight. That'll be the fight that I pass on. But yeah, we got to worry about that durability at this point for poor Kama Worthy. We did get the O'Malley Almeida doesn't go the distance, and I got to shout out to anybody who had the under 1.5, anybody who had the under 2.5. Y'all were robbed. Y'all were absolutely highway robbery, pulling a shank out of your boot, mugging robbed. Like, that fight was over. It was done, and we need to make a mental note about Sugar Sean O'Malley. He wants the fame. He wants the spotlight. He wanted that knockoff one-shot KO. And when he didn't get it, he sat back for 2 full rounds trying to wait for his spot. So something we must keep in mind. He did not follow up. And even the second time he had Tomas Almeida hurt, he walked off again. He tried 2 walk-off knockouts in the same fight. Neither of them happened. So especially as that level of opposition ramps up, we have to keep in mind that if he continues to hunt the spotlight the way that he is, that's going to be an issue. Because he's not trustworthy enough to follow up on a shot and put his opponent away and get that early finish for us. So I was sweating bullets that fight. It was a late third round finish. Thank God. Thank God we had the fight doesn't go the distance as opposed to the under 2.5. That really saved the night. This would have been a meltdown podcast. I'd have been fuming if I had had that loss. Would have been super hard. I'd have been so upset. And Ben, my friend, yes, I am a degenerate NHL gambler myself. I'm actually on the Sabres tonight, believe it or not. I do have the Islanders. They're down by 1. And for the nightcap, I like the Jets. there you go. If anybody wants to ride with me. So that's basically it. We had the under 2.5 for the Woodley-Luque fight, and that was a home run. That one felt damn good. I knew that Luque was going to force a firefight, but I didn't think that Woodley was going to be the one that come out and instigated it the way that he did. So wow, that one felt good. Getting the plus 140 on the under 2.5, easy rocking chair casher. The way those two guys came out in the first round, that felt fantastic. So that was UFC 260, folks. Like I said, slight loss, minus 0.35 units. So really nothing to even sweat, but unfortunate because if I were a professional gambler, if I did do this for a living, I mean, honestly, I probably would have just backed up the dump truck on Francis Ngannou, and I should have done that. You know, that's something. I think the only thing I'm frustrated with myself on is I had the infamous 7-unit bet earlier this year when I took Alexander Volkov over Alistar Overeem, and that's the thing everyone always tells me, bring back the 7-unit bet, bring back the 7-unit bet. Well, that's way overreaching. That's way bigger of a bet than I've ever made before. I do not make those bets with regularity, but that's kind of the one spot that I was like, you know what, I know Francis is winning this fight, and I went 2 units on it, but I feel like I could have gone 3, 4, even 5 on it. I felt that confident, and I just didn't do it. So that opportunity is never coming back. I mean, even if Stipe comes back and tries to fight Francis Ngannou for the title again, we're not getting minus 125. You know what I mean? Francis will be minus 200, minus 250. Like, we're never going to get that spot again. So I feel a little bad for letting that one slip by and not putting some extra cash in our pockets for going harder on that one. Yep. And Tajik Bey, I know you're trolling, but no, definitely not a millionaire. But nothing to cry about with a slight loss like that. It's gambling, you know. The bookies have an advantage. We know that. We know the game we're playing, so you got to overcome that edge. My boy Danny in the house, buddy. I missed you on Saturday. I was live hanging out with the Pub Sports Radio boys, and it was a good time, but not the same without my Fireball brother over there, Danny. All right. Ben saying easy money if Francis Ngannou fights Jones. Ah, man, that is such a fight. We can't disrespect John Jones. I'll say that much. I'm a believer in Francis, but we cannot disrespect John Jones, even though I personally don't like the guy and enjoy trying to find opportunities to fade him. All right, so let us go ahead and move right on into this. Right, we are talking Bellator. We're talking Bellator light heavyweight tournament. So if you don't know, let me get this up here. I want to make sure I've got all of this laid out for everybody. I know there's a nice handy-dandy little tournament bracket that I think that I can get up here. There we go. Let me pop this up behind me. I found it. Oh, not quite. I got to adjust. Fly with me here. Whoop, look at that. Magic of live shows. It's what we do. Technology, baby. Gotta love it. All right. Bellator light heavyweight Grand Prix. We've got the bracket chilling up right here behind me. We've got some UFC alumni. We've got some Bellator homegrown prospects, and we've even got a Russian monster that's coming in trying to upset absolutely everything. Razor Sharp, what's up, buddy? Thank you very much for hanging out in the chat, my friend. So what we've got is round 1, April 9th. I think that date has changed, actually, so I don't know if this picture is accurate anymore. But we've got Ryan Bader taking on Lyoto Machida, and then we've got Corey Anderson taking on the newcomer, and his name is a mouthful. Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but holy cow. And then we've got Vadim Nemkov on this side over here, current 205-pound champion, just coming off knocking out Ryan Bader, taking the belt from him, taking on Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis, another UFC backup here. And then Anthony Rumble Johnson taking on Yoel Romero. Jenna Tools, no. So we're going to talk about the main event. We'll do the main event of Bellator 255, but we're not going to do the entire card. We're going to preview the light heavyweight tournament and then hit the main event. I didn't do all of my homework for the entire card, so we're just going to cap on the main event. And if you follow me on Twitter, I will likely have some more information, maybe some betting picks and stuff like that a little bit later in the week. But for right now, we're just going to do the tournament. So what we've got here, starting up at the top of this bad boy, is our guy, Ryan Darth Bader. The sexiest man in MMA today, 37 years old. For those of you who have been with me for a while, you know what I'm talking about. 37 years old. He's 27-6, 6'2", And this is his first fight coming back off the brutal, brutal loss to Vadim Nemkov. Now, Bader recently has looked a whole hell of a lot better at heavyweight than he has at light heavyweight. I honestly have concerns about him knocking on the door of 40 and then cutting all that weight. He's a big dude. He's a big 205er, and the biggest issue I have with Bader is he just doesn't take shots well. You know, he never has. That's the thing. When Bader is on point, it's when he can access his fight IQ. He uses that high-level grappling, and he uses that striking to edge out where his opponent is weak. And when he finds somebody who he doesn't have that stylistic edge or advantage over, he's in trouble. You know, if he can't out-wrestle somebody and he's forced to try and outstrike them, it gets sketchy. When he can't outstrike somebody and he's forced to try to out-grapple somebody, it gets sketchy. Like, he needs to be able to bounce back and forth and have the advantage on either side and then pick the one that he's got an easier path to do well. And we saw against Vadim, he couldn't get the wrestling going. So without the wrestling, he had to strike, and he was not as good of a striker. He's not as durable as a guy like Vadim, so he get knocked out cold. And that's kind of my concern here with him coming back. But he's facing Lyoto Machida, who's 42. Lyoto Machida is 42 years old, 26-10. We all know him from the UFC, former 205-pound champion, and actually holds a KO win over Ryan Bader from all the way back in 2012. So this is a bit of a fun rematch. We get to go back and dig this up. There's some history there. Bellator did a good job of lining this first matchup, in my opinion. And Lyoto Machida is the same guy he was back then. I'll be honest. He has not evolved one iota, in my opinion. He does the exact same thing. He's got that karate stylist, and he strikes from range very well, but he seems to have lost some of the pop on his punches. You know, he's just not, he doesn't hit as hard as he used to. That was his thing, is Lyoto Machida only needed one shot. You make one mistake, one error, and your ass was knocked out cold. It's not like that anymore. It's not like that anymore. So we're going to have to wait and see how he looks here on not April 9th. I keep saying April 9th because that's what's on my little that's what's on my bracket here, but I think that date's been moved. So I've got to go with Ryan Bader in this first matchup. And that's not a homer pick. I do think he's going to be able to use the wrestling the way that he always was able to. And for that fight specifically, Bader is minus 280 and Lyoto Machida is plus 240. I'm not so sure I like that. You know, Bader coming fresh off of a knockout loss. Lyoto Machida still has a little bit of gas in the tank, and it's just going to come down to that grappling. If Lyoto Machida can force a couple scrambles and get a couple of pop shots off on the feet, he's going to have the opportunity to hurt Ryan Bader. And if he hurts Ryan Bader, we've seen that guy wobble before. We've seen him do the stank leg. We've seen him really just fall apart. But I don't know if 42-year-old, 43-year-old Lyoto Machida can stop the takedowns of Ryan Bader. So I'm going to say Ryan Bader, but I don't know that I want any piece of him at minus 280. Now let's look at nice friends over here at BetOnline, betonline.ag. They are the only ones I was able to find that actually have future odds on this tournament, which is fun. So Bader to take down the whole thing is 5-1, plus 500. Lyoto Machida is the biggest underdog on the card, and he is 33-1, plus 3,300. 33-1. So if we want to talk about the whole tournament, how we think it's going to break down, we'll do that at the end. Keep those odds in mind. So I do expect Bader to win this first fight. I don't necessarily like the minus 300 price tag that he's sitting at, but I expect him to get past Lyoto Machida. The DJ saying, never underestimate the teachings of Sensei Segal. You have a point there, my friend. You have a point there. Yeah, Sensei Segal always coming out and teaching some new tricks, which it's only after the fighter wins by devastating knockout that we hear he taught them that. Very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Segal. You have our respect. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to move along from that. So that's round one. We're expecting Ryan Bader to get the win there and considering those future odds. The next fight we've got Corey Anderson, overtime, taking on the newcomer, Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov. Oof, okay, the Russian killer. So Corey Anderson, 31 years old, Ooh, Pac-Man in here with a bit of a hot take saying they got Lyoto Machida by decision. Woo-hoo-hoo. That is a hot take, my friend, and that's that'll pay nicely if you do that. So Corey Anderson, 31 years old, 14-5. We know, current dropout from the UFC. He's making his sophomore appearance over here in Bellator, just the second fight in Bellator. He's 6'3", big dude for 205, another just monstrous 205-pounder. He's a grappling machine. We know that. We've seen him have the big, powerful takedowns. He's got excellent shoulder pressure when he's on top of his opponents, and he's just methodical. He's one of these rinse and repeat guys. Like he's got some pop on his punches, but he knows his weakness. He's a bit chinny. He has a hard time taking damage, so he knows he just needs to rinse and repeat, takedown, 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 takedown. In his UFC debut, he got a win. He got back on track. TKO over Melvin Manhoef, who's 44 freaking years old and a guy that had no chance of stuffing a takedown. That's one that, I mean, what are you doing? That was as setup as setups get. Like, we knew Corey Anderson was going to win that fight running away, right? Like, he just had to. That fight was made perfectly available for him to take down an older fighter, a guy that just had no grappling, a guy that struggled with that type of fighter in the past. Got Corey Anderson feeling confident, back on track, ready to go here for the light heavyweight Grand Prix. I'm not done fading this guy. I don't like Corey Anderson. I didn't like him in the UFC, and especially now that he's been knocked out a couple of extra times, I'm just not having it. I'm not looking towards taking Corey Anderson whatsoever here in this tournament. Now, this Russian here, Yagshimuradov, this guy is 31 years old himself, and he is 18-5-1. It's his Bellator debut, so very interesting that he's coming over here to the light heavyweight tournament without even having a Bellator fight under his belt yet. Very intriguing to me. Very light on his feet. This guy's only 5'11", though. He is super small for 205. That's something that we need to keep in mind. We've seen fighters that are small, undersized at 205 really struggle. Michelle Lord-Olszewczuk this weekend is a perfect example of that. He just seems too small to handle the physicality of some of these big dudes. Now, this kid is light on his feet. He's got constant movement, circles well, he throws spinning attacks, and he strikes very well moving backwards. That's always something that I like to have a little bit of. If you've got a fighter that's capable of landing a knockout blow while they're backpedaling, that's something that I like to look out for. But he wings big power punches, and he's a strong wrestler. He's got explosive takedowns. He also has heavy top control and nasty ground and pound if he gets on top of you. This guy's got a decision loss to Magomed Ankalaev. Now, you know Magomed Ankalaev from the UFC. That's the dude that we're all looking out for. A lot of people think might be the next big thing at 205, and he got taken down by Magomed Ankalaev. And this was, I think, 3 years ago that this fight took place. And he scrambled extremely well from bottom. He was able to reverse, get a single leg, and then he bodied Magomed Ankalaev. Like, he's only 5'11". He's a small dude, but he picked him up and he slammed Magomed Ankalaev back to the mat. So we need to understand that Corey Anderson's strength is his wrestling game. And even though he's going to be the bigger fighter by a decent clip here, I gotta wonder if this kid can't out-grapple Corey Anderson. He's going to be more dangerous on the feet. He hits harder. That's extremely clear. And if Corey Anderson takes just the wrong hit from getting one takedown stuffed, this thing's going to be over. This kid is going to knock Corey Anderson out cold. So what they've got right now is a very interesting spot. Corey Anderson is the favorite, folks. Corey Anderson is a minus 160 favorite. The comeback is anywhere from plus 125 to plus 140 on Dovletdzhan. The Russian monster here is plus 125 to plus 140, ranging all the way around, and Corey Anderson is taking money as the betting favorite. This is one of those really weird spots where I wouldn't expect anybody to be lining up behind Corey Anderson, but he is taking the cash. Now, this fight's going to be on April 16th, and I think I may have my first underdog spot in this tournament because I absolutely like what this kid brings to the table, and I love fading Corey Anderson's chin. Now, when we're looking at the tournament as a whole, they're both 10-1 to win the entire thing. So plus 1,000 on both guys to win the entire freaking tournament. Catching up here with the chat. Keiko Lopez saying it doesn't matter about the size. It only matters when it comes to the physicality and the wrestling. So when you got two guys that wrestle about the same level, then whoever's the bigger, stronger guy is going to win. So that's the one spot that it really does matter. Really does matter. Robert Sella coming in here. I'm glad to hear that you didn't bet on Stipe. The world was on Stipe, and we knew to get away from that one. My reads have not been 100% lately, but when I have been on, I've been like on, and that was one that, yeah, I could see that fight playing out in my head almost exactly the way it happened. I thought it was going to be round 1. It was round 2 instead. So Stipe's just, he's getting a little too old, man. That's the problem. Unfortunately, Father Time comes for us all. Wham OG here in the house. What's up, buddy? Trot Wham, thank you very much, and smash that like button for me. Make sure you check out my guy Wham. He does excellent basketball breakdowns. I don't know shit about basketball, so make sure you go check out Wham. He can help you out. Let's see here. Danny agreeing with me to fade Anderson. Let's see here. The DJ saying Anderson always destined to be no good, even in Bellator. I can't say I disagree. MMA Kappa already calling out that Vadim Nemkov is going to be the champion at 205. I don't hate the call, honestly. I don't hate it whatsoever. And we got a hot take in here. Machida going all the way. Hey, 33-1. That's all I'm saying. 33-1. If you like Machida to go all the way, that's not a bad price tag for it. All right, we're moving over to the right side of the bracket. We've got Vadim Nemkov, the current 205-pound Bellator champion, taking on Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis. Now, Vadim is only 28 years old. He's the youngest guy in this bracket and the current belt holder, 12-2. Jeez, this kid's a monster. I mean, the way that he ran through... No, I got you. Yeah, we're good. The way that he ran through Ryan Bader. Bader has basically been mauling Bellator's 205-pound division since he got there. And Vadim just absolutely destroyed him. I don't hate on anybody thinking Vadim is just going to take down the whole thing at this point. I really don't. Extremely light on his feet. This guy is nasty in the striking realm. He's got fast hands. He's accurate. He fires off these blitz attacks. He's extremely explosive, and he's got snappy kicks. He works the legs. He works the body. He's a strong grappler, both wrestling and BJJ. And interestingly enough, Bellator, they just know what they're doing, folks. Bellator knows what they're doing. He's got a split decision win over Phil Davis. So they're running it back, which I'm such a fan of. It was a close fight. It was competitive. Phil Davis almost had him in a key lock submission, and he weaseled out of it. He got the split. He moved on, became champion. Now Phil gets his shot at redemption here. This is such a good little piece of matchmaking that they've done. Phil, he's 36 years old. He's another UFC dropout. He's knocking on that door of 40. He's getting up there, but 36, not so bad. We can still kind of work with that. And he's 22-5. The thing that I can say that describes Phil Davis the best is that he just always competes. This guy fights so close with every single person that they match him up with. He's slick on the feet. He's got nice leg kicks, and he just always rises to the level of his competition. He's got a split decision win over Machida. They've got 1-1. They've fought twice already, so it'd be interesting. I don't expect them to necessarily get to the opposite ends of the bracket, but it'd be interesting because that would be the rubber match between those two if it happened. He's got a split loss to Bader, which was Bader's first fight in Bellator, and then he's got a split loss to Vadim Nemkov. So, I mean, Phil Davis is this close to being undefeated and champion in Bellator. Like, he was right there. What they've got for this fight is Phil Davis is a plus 140 underdog to Vadim Nemkov, who is a minus 165 favorite. I would love to side with Vadim Nemkov here. I'm going to go ahead and say that he wins the fight. But man, the fact that they fought so closely that first fight, and we have not seen Phil Davis declining the way that Bader has, I got to feel like he's going to make a fight out of this thing. Vadim Nemkov is, from Team Fedor. He's working with some of the best guys out there. He's the star pupil of the greatest heavyweight potentially of all time. MMA overall, not just UFC, because I know there's that debate going of who actually is the greatest. But man, like he's in the right place. That's the thing with Vadim. He's just going to get better. He's only 28 years old. We've seen, that's what you guys got to remember. We have seen the completed product of every single fighter on this card except these two. These two. There. Shoot, I'm blocking them. There we go. These ones. Right there. Those are the only two who are young enough to really expect developments. And I guess Corey Anderson, you could say, is young enough to develop, but he's got that chin problem that's gonna hold him back. So I'm expecting a better version of Vadim. I'm expecting improvements from Vadim, and minus 165 on the current sitting champion. It's not a bad price tag. I wouldn't bat an eye at anybody looking to go ahead and take that, but just get ready that this fight is going to be close. Expect that it's going to be close. Expect that it's going to be hairy. Expect that Phil Davis is going to come for war, and he's going to make you sweat out every second of that ticket. MMA Triple J saying might want to take a look at Jason Jackson. Yep. Honestly, I haven't looked at Bellator 255 beyond the main event, so we're going to talk about the main event. But we're just talking about the light heavyweight Grand Prix for now. I will tweet out any action that I have later on in the week, but I'm going to take the brain vacation. Need a little bit of a break this week, and then we got a kick-ass UFC card coming back, folks. UFC Vegas 23. That card is smoking. I'm going to be doing some serious look-ahead homework on that card because it's fantastic. All right. Machida winning the whole thing and then coming back to conquer the UFC's Polish power. No. I will take the legendary Polish power over any man in this Bellator tournament. I'll stand by that. And yep, I'm stoked to see Rumble back. No matter where it's at, I am stoked. Fedor is only second to Artem. Oh, I love it. I love it. Gecko Lopez got 50% on Yoel. Okay, well, we're about to talk about that one. So what we've got next up is Anthony Rumble Johnson, 37 years old. It pains me to say that. This was a young, hungry talent at one point and one of my all-time favorite fighters. And 37-year-old Anthony Rumble Johnson coming back. He's 22-6, hasn't fought since 2017. Now, if he's anything like he used to be, which this is the huge thing, this is the fight right here that we know the least about because there are huge question marks surrounding both Rumble and Yoel Romero. Anthony Johnson, if he's anything like the guy that we had seen previously, he's explosive. He comes out winging bombs, and the guy has nasty power. Like before Francis Ngannou, there was Anthony Rumble Johnson. He was the one-hitter-quitter guy. He's got this insane athleticism and speed. He's got a wrestling background, which I know at the end of his career in the UFC, that really was kind of a mocking point more often than anything because he never used it and he got taken down by everybody, and that was really the way that they ground out the wins against him, was exposing that wrestling weakness when he was supposed to be a career wrestler. But I have to mention that technically speaking, he had the wrestling background. I don't know how authentic it is or how much we can really lean on it, but it was there. And, man, I'm hoping he comes back the same. I mean, this guy moved all the way from 170 to 205. Like, he got cut from the UFC because he couldn't make weight at 170, misses at 185, and then comes back as a 205-pound monster. Now, since 2017, when he quit fighting, he blew up. And I mean, he went hard on like the powerlifting and all that kind of good stuff. So who knows what kind of substances he was taking in the couple years while he was off, because he got massive. I mean, geez, like I expected him to come back at heavyweight, not a light heavyweight. And there were talks about him coming back at heavyweight for the UFC, honestly. And then Francis Ngannou showed up, and he was like, I'm good. Like every single person in the UFC's heavyweight division just noping out right now because Francis got the belt. So I'm expecting, I don't know what I'm expecting from Anthony Johnson. Honestly, like I'm hopeful that he comes back and he's on point. I'm hopeful that he's explosive and fast, but I don't know that we can necessarily count on that. Ring rust, bro. 5 years worth of ring rust. Jeez. He's taken on Yoel Romero, who's fought more recently than he has. 43 years old, though. Yoel freaking Romero. You know, we try not to bet on 40-year-old fighters, but in Bellator, it's hard to bet on anything without betting on a 40-year-old fighter. He's 13-5, and he's coming up to 205. First fight that I know of that he's fought at 205. Maybe when he was younger, he fought at 205 or something, but the only Yoel Romero I've ever known was a guy that fought at 185, right? Multiple time title challenger, so we know he's got that going for him. But he's coming off a bad performance. He got absolutely shut down by Israel Adesanya and got cut because he had such a bad performance. Not exciting whatsoever. And here he's transitioning over where he can maybe be a bigger fish in a smaller pool. And I don't hate the move for Yoel. The only problem for me is the size. Like, he's a career 185er. And at 43 years old, he's going to move up to 205. And like, that just never goes well. That doesn't go well for anybody. Like, Daniel Cormier is the only one that really worked well for. And he moved from heavyweight down to 205 and then went back up at the end of his career. Like, he was a heavyweight, only moved because his buddy Cain Velasquez was the champion and he didn't want to cross paths with him. So this is another spot. Like I said, it's just the most questionable spot on the entire board right now is this fight, because we don't know what Yoel is going to look like at 205. We don't know. I mean, obviously he'll have power, but does he have 205 power? Like, there are people in your weight class that you can knock out. And then when you move up a class, you're like, oh, I'm just going to have more power up there, right? Like, yeah, you might. You might have some more power when you move up there, but those guys' heads are bigger. Their necks are thicker. Like, their jaws are more intact at the next weight class up. So even if you've got more power, is it enough to still be a murderous power puncher? I don't expect Yoel Romero to suddenly turn into a wrestler. I don't think he's going to dive on the legs of Anthony Johnson and make this a wrestling match. And if there's anybody that Anthony Johnson can probably stuff a takedown from or get out from under and then make a fight in round 2, it'd probably be a 43-year-old Yoel Romero, right? This guy is not, he's a wrestler, but he's not the control type of wrestler that really succeeds in MMA. If he gets a blast double or something, Rumble might spend the rest of the round down there, but I wouldn't bet on it. I would think Rumble would be able to get back to his feet. And then round 2 starts. I don't know that Yoel's going to be able to do that blast double leg and get him down again. You know, Big Guy Sports Collector in here saying Rumble sleeps Yoel, in my opinion. I think Yoel moving up to be the biggest light heavyweight tourney with the most power. Yeah. See, and that's kind of where I'm sitting. I'm surprised. So this line is a pick'em. Straight pick'em. Anthony Rumble Johnson taking on Yoel Romero is a pick'em price tag. And what's more interesting to me, I think, than that is the futures odds. Because Yoel Romero is plus 425 to win the entire tournament. So you're just getting better than 4-1 for him to take the entire thing, take the strap, and call it a day. Rumble Johnson is 7-1. So that implies Yoel Romero is a bigger favorite to win the entire tournament than Anthony Johnson is. However, Anthony Johnson is a pick'em against Yoel Romero in their fight. So that's interesting. That is interesting. The bookmakers do believe that Yoel has a better shot at success in this tournament than Anthony Rumble Johnson does. So now that we've gotten through all the fighters, we've talked about their individual skill sets, we've talked about their individual matchups, let's see if we can find a spot that we like on those futures odds. Let's see if there's anybody we're interested in calling for the win and how we think the tournament bracket can play out and all that good stuff. First things first, everybody, if you would do me a favor, smash the like button. I want to shout out my other sponsors. We've got GOAT Capital Sports at GOAT Capital _ over on Twitter. Give them a follow. They give out free plays almost every single day, and they are just absolutely on fire. They have been crushing golf bets. They've been doing extremely well in the NCAA tournament. Like, if you need some picks at a very reasonable price tag for all the other sports, check out goatcapitalsports.com. You will not regret it. So we have got the first fight taking place is going to be Bader Machida. Now, I think Bader's going to win that fight, right? So we think Bader is going to advance. I wish I could do this interactively. Like, I should have thought ahead of this and like clipped these out so I could like move Bader's face down to the next circle. So we're going to say that Bader ends up here, right? We're going to say that Bader wins and ends up right here in this area. That'd be so freaking cool if I could just like move. So we're going to say Bader advances, right? Now, there's some argument to say that Lyoto Machida advances. Maybe he clips Bader on the chin or something, but I think that's wishful thinking that Machida is going to be able to catch Ryan Bader. Bader does not necessarily have the chin for it, but I do think the wrestling is going to just stifle the offense of Machida. Down here, this gets interesting, right? I'm going to call the upset. I'm going to bet the Russian. I think I might actually bet the Russian. I'm saying he's going to win in advance. I think he's going to knock out Corey Anderson. And that fight is not taking place until, let me get the schedule up here because they moved it. That one's happening April 16th. So they were going to have these two both go at April 16th. This one got moved. It is now happening over here. And then Yoel Romero and Anthony Rumble Johnson is not happening until May 7th. So there's a little bit of the scheduling mix up there. But when that fight takes place, I'm probably going to bet the Russian. I may need to pull the trigger on that sooner than later because I'm not sure how long Corey Anderson's going to hold as a minus 160 favorite. That's right, Mike. That's right, Mike. Let's go. Let's go. So I'm going to say Bader advances. I'm going to say the Russian advances. And what do we do then? So once again, we're going to have a very, very similar matchup for our Russian fighter here. That he's going to be younger. He's going to be smaller. But he's going to have the explosion advantage. He's going to have the... I don't know if he has the power advantage. Ryan Bader is a big, strong dude. And that's kind of my only thing is if they're making Corey Anderson the favorite over him, if he wins, Bader is going to be a huge favorite over him. I'd be very tempted to once again bet the Russian underdog there, just taking a fade on Bader's chin and basically saying he's on the back half of his career. But long story short, Bader is the favorite on this side of the tournament, right? Like they are expecting Ryan Bader to end up rematching for his light heavyweight belt here. So we're going on to the right side here. We're looking at Vadim Nemkov taking on Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis. And I'm fully expecting Vadim to get his hand raised at the end of that thing. The kid is young. He's in the right place. He's got so many tools. I expect him to be better this time around even than he was last time. And that is going to be impressive. Phil Davis, excellent fighter. I think he's going to come for war. I think he's going to give a good account of himself. But I don't know that he's going to be able to do much beyond what we've already seen. So I'm going to pick Vadim champion to go ahead and proceed. Now, he is the favorite in that matchup as well. Minus 170. Again, that's another one I might actually bet. I don't hate that price tag. And I think it's plus 190 for Vadim to win the entire tournament. So you're not even getting 2-1 on him to win just the whole damn thing. And then down here, we've got Anthony Rumble Johnson taking on Yoel Romero. I do think that Anthony Johnson is just going to be too big and too powerful for Yoel Romero. Now, nobody has knocked out Yoel Romero in, like, forever. Nobody knocks out Yoel Romero. But remember, he's coming up to 205. And I think that's going to be the difference. Rumble Johnson is a guy that realistically could be fighting at heavyweight if he didn't want to cut weight right now. I'm going to be very curious to see him on the scales. This is the one to watch, folks, because Yoel Romero might just be a monster at 205 that we're not expecting. Now, he's 43 years old, so how long of a monster can he be? I don't really know. But he's going to be something. You know what I mean? He's going to be something. And Rumble Johnson, I think, can maybe just physically bully him around in the cage. But we got to worry about the ring rust. We got to worry about degradation. You know, how's Rumble's chin after all these years? Like, how hard has he been training? We don't know any of that. So this is the biggest question for me. But it also presents an interesting value aspect because if Rumble were to get by Yoel Romero, which I think he will, he's 7-1 to win the whole thing. Now, obviously, those odds are going to shift once the fights actually happen. But if you bet before the tournament starts, you're kind of free rolling a little bit there if Rumble just gets by round one, because Yoel Romero is only 4-1 to win the entire tournament. So from an odds perspective, from a futures perspective, I think Rumble Johnson adds some very interesting and intriguing value for this tournament, because let's play the rest of this out, right? So we've got the Russian and Bader on this side. And again, I would be tempted on the nice big hefty underdog price on the Russian just because of Bader's chin. And especially if it's any kind of a quick turnaround, if Machida has any type of striking success, you know, chipping away at the durability of Bader for us, stuff like that. If Bader has another bad weight cut, like, he might also just be able to maul this kid, right? So, like, if Bader just out physicals this Russian kid, which is totally on the table because he's massive, he coasts into the championship bout, and I would lose a unit on probably like a plus 250 underdog, which I'd be fine with. And then on this side, we've got Vadim Nemkov taking on Ryan Bader, which, I'm sorry, not Ryan Bader, Anthony Johnson, which is extremely interesting because if you've got Bader waiting on this side of the bracket, they set this up, folks. They set this up. because Bader is waiting on this side of the matchup, and he's either going to rematch Vadim, who just took his belt, so you've got the new champion versus the old champion, or you have the UFC's own Anthony Rumble Johnson making the biggest all-time comeback of forever, knocking out the current champion, and then challenging a guy that he knocked out back in the UFC days in a huge rematch for the Bellator light heavyweight Grand Prix belt. So the dog might go off. Someone just pulled up at my house, so warning you ahead of time. So the most interesting thing here to me is going to be Vadim versus Rumble. If both these guys win, which is expected to happen in my opinion, both these guys advance. How do we see that playing out? We really don't know until we see Anthony Rumble Johnson fight Yoel Romero, right? What's he going to look like? Because I expect Vadim is going to have a speed advantage, an athleticism advantage over Anthony Rumble Johnson. But I don't just want to count out Rumble. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's a mistake. If you simply want to count out Anthony Rumble Johnson, he was so damn good. He was so explosive. He hits so freaking hard. If he comes on point, he could win this whole damn thing. But you would expect Vadim is probably going to be a favorite. If Rumble wins by like vicious, brutal knockout or something, they maybe make it a pick'em just because of the power edge. That's something I could see happening. But I'd be willing to bet Anthony Rumble Johnson as an underdog to Vadim Nemkov. But again, we're going blind here because we got to see what Rumble looks like in the cage before we can make any kind of those assessments. Most likely thing to happen in this tournament is the rematch, right? Bader should win this side. Vadim should win this side. But I think if there was a dark horse, it's going to be Anthony Johnson or it's going to be our newcomer little Russian monster over here. Those are the two upsets that I could potentially see. So from a futures perspective, 7-1 on Anthony Rumble Johnson. I think he wins his first round. I don't know if he gets by Vadim, but he very well could. And if you look at betting him as a pick'em against Yoel, and then maybe as a plus 150 underdog, maybe plus 200 underdog against Vadim, now he's facing, theoretically, Ryan Bader on the other side of the tournament. And if you've got a 7-1 ticket in your pocket with a power striker like Anthony Rumble Johnson, I mean, we saw what happened the last time these guys fought. Bader shot from way outside. He wanted nothing to do with the power of Anthony Rumble Johnson. If those two are the ones that get to the belt, if they get to the final, I'm taking Johnson all day. I'm taking Johnson in the rematch all day. And so that future bet would suddenly become very, very interesting if he gets to that championship slot. Honestly, I'll take Anthony Johnson, assuming he looks good, assuming he looks anything like his old self against everybody on this side except for this dude. Because this little Russian grappling monster probably gets in on his hips, makes him work, takes him down, and drags him around the cage. So that, again, that's the upset. That's the dark horse I'm talking about. Philip in the house. What's up, buddy? Yeah, definitely hope Corey doesn't win because there would be some extremely cringy post-victory microphone talk going on if that was the case. So I think from the futures perspective, those are my two picks. Those are my two dark horses. The Russian, again, I need to see one of the experts like John Anik say this kid's name or something before I try to repeat it because I just butcher it every time. So apologies for just calling him the Russian on repeat here. But plus 1,000, 10-1 on him. That doesn't sound half bad to me. I expect him to get by Corey. And then if he gets up against Bader, he's live. And if he gets to the final, he's live, obviously. So 10-1 there is interesting. And then 7-1 on Rumble is interesting. Now, if you want to back the truck up, on Vadim Nemkov and say, and still, like he's just going to wipe his way through the tournament, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. That's very, very, very likely what may be happening in this tournament. So there you go, folks. I mean, that's the light heavyweight Grand Prix breakdown. That's about all I've got for you. I'm expecting Bader to, get to the finals on this side. I like the Russian as an underdog. I'll probably bet him the whole way. I'm expecting Vadim to win round one. I will go ahead and bet him there. Probably going to bet Anthony Rumble Johnson, but a little tentative there because of those questions. And then from a futures perspective, these are the two that I think hold some serious value. And if you're listening to the audio version only of this, first off, leave me a 5-star review if you don't mind. But I'm pointing. I'm pointing at Anthony Rumble Johnson and my little Russian monster that I'm looking. Matt Reed in the chat saying Yoel wins. There's some hot fire right there. So, I mean, let's talk about that, right? If Yoel gets by Anthony Johnson, all he's got to do is get by Vadim. Do we expect Yoel Romero to defeat whoever comes off the left side of the bracket? Maybe so, because we talked about the chin issues of Ryan Bader. Again, that's where the size comes into play, because Bader could be the guy that's big enough to just out-muscle a guy like Yoel Romero. But that chin concern, if you get Yoel Romero versus Ryan Bader in the title in the finals, that's maybe a good spot to go ahead and take Yoel Romero as an underdog, because you would expect him to be an underdog in that kind of a position, and that power is real. So, Daniel asking a good question. What is the height difference between Yoel Romero and Rumble Johnson? I don't know how far my stat page goes back. Give me just 1 second. I will find out for you, because if Romero is still in here, now both these guys have left the UFC, obviously, but if Anthony Rumble Johnson is still in here, which I'm not sure he is, that's the big question. If he is still in here, yep, there he is. All right, I got you. Yoel Romero is 6 foot tall, 73-inch reach, and Rumble is 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. So there will be a 5-inch reach advantage for Anthony Rumble Johnson. So the guy is younger, the guy's taller, the guy's longer, he's bigger. I mean, that's really the key for me, and that's why I think that Anthony Rumble Johnson for the first round may be a solid bet as a pick'em against an elder statesman fighter that potentially is on his way out the door. Yeah, Matt, saying that if he remembers correctly, Yoel was around 220, so he will be walking around weight. He will absolutely be walking around weight when he comes in here for this tournament, and that's not a bad thing. He should have more gas in the tank. Maybe he, strikes more. Maybe he goes for it more because he's not so worried about his cardio, because he can, he's got that extra gas, not cutting weight or anything like that. So there's absolutely some positives for Yoel Romero. It's just him at 43. I don't know that I like it. Him at a reach distance, disadvantage. I definitely don't like it. We've seen in the UFC how that plays out when he's at a reach disadvantage, but Johnson being rusty, he's not going to control the cage like an Israel Adesanya is. He's not going to keep this guy at the end of his jab. I mean, and see, this is where, again, all the questions come into play here. I say he's not going to. What if Anthony Johnson's been doing nothing but tune up his striking game all these years? Like, he's had 4 or 5 years off. If he's been at all active, which he's talked about and teased comebacks multiple times, he's been in the gym at least some. Like, if he's worked on anything, he could be better when he steps in the cage. I'm not really expecting it. I think we're probably going to see kind of an old version of him, but you just never know. That's the thing with sports betting, where it's like poker. It's a game of incomplete information, and we have to bet based on some assumptions, and that's a big, big question mark. Big question mark. Oh, God. Breaking news. Tyron Woodley is being considered as a boxing opponent for Oscar De La Hoya. Oh, dear God. Okay. Let's pretend I didn't read that. All right. So let's talk about, real quick, the main event for Bellator 255. We've got Patricio Pitbull taking on Emmanuel Sanchez. This is a rematch, folks. For those of you who may not know, these two have fought before. It went to a full 5-round decision. And we have the current champion, Patricio Pitbull, who is locked in as a decent-sized favorite here. Minus 250 to minus 270, depending on where you're finding him in the market. And Patricio Pitbull, man, like, this guy, he's something else. He is something else. So he's 33 years old, getting a little up there. We know at the lighter weight classes, that age, that speed, it becomes a problem, because you've got to keep that speed at the lighter weight classes. Once you lose that speed, you're dead. Taking on Emmanuel Sanchez, who is just huge. This guy's massive. He's tall, he's long, he uses his reach well, and he's incredibly durable. Sanchez has only lost 4 times. 3 of those were in Bellator, to the best Bellator has to offer, and no one has been able to finish this dude. So he manages to hang around in every single fight he's in. Patricio Pitbull, on the other hand, this guy has just an explosive repertoire of striking ability. We just saw him take out Michael Chandler, and Michael Chandler is the new hot shit in the UFC, right? Like, he storms onto the UFC scene with that big-ass knockout over Dan Hooker. We know who Michael Chandler is. And this guy knocked him out in the first round. So, very intriguing matchup. 31-4 is Patricio, and he's only got one loss via KO TKO, and that was to Ben Henderson. The UFC's Ben Henderson. And if you're just looking at his record, if you're just looking online and you're like, oh, you know, ShareDog or, you know, whatever site you use, and you see a KO loss to Ben Henderson, that doesn't tell the whole story. He broke his shin. He uses a leg kick heavy attack, and Ben Henderson did a great job checking the leg kicks, and he shattered his shin. So he had to stop fighting in that one just because he wasn't able to keep going on that leg. They run that back and he murders Ben Henderson, especially in current form. So we got to put a little asterisk next to that because Patricio himself is extremely durable and tough to put away. The thing with Emmanuel Sanchez, he's another one of these guys like Phil Davis. He just fights close. No matter who he's in there with, he gives them a good fight. He gives a good account of himself. He's hard to put away. He's hard to look good against. He's got everybody out on that reach advantage. So it's a problem. But I'm never betting against Patricio Pitbull here. I can see this guy dancing circles around Emmanuel Sanchez because that's really going to be the difference is the speed. Patricio Pitbull is snappy. He is quick. He is fast. Unless I'm mistaken, he's training with my boy Gilbert Burns. And Emmanuel Sanchez is big and slow. That reach is excellent, but he's not like an Israel Adesanya reach guy where he's super snappy, super quick, strikes at angles that you don't see coming from. He's big. He's slow. He's maybe in the wrong weight class. He's that kind of guy. So I expect Patricio to basically dance around this dude. And with the way he's sitting down, the way he put away Michael Chandler, he's kind of coming into his own. Even, at 33 years, that's kind of where you expect fighters to kind of dip off a little bit. I feel like Patricio is just barely hitting his stride. Like, he's looking the best he's ever looked here. And I think he deserves this minus 250 price tag. I honestly do. I think you can maybe get some additional value on this thing if you want to take a crazy shot of Patricio Pitbull by decision. That line is not out right now. The fight goes to decision is minus 140, which that may be a bit of a spot we might be able to find some value here. Fight goes the distance is minus 140, and that way, you just don't have to worry about who wins. If this fight is close, if this fight is hairy and it gets all the way, all 5 rounds, then that's a spot that you just don't have to sweat. And I'll be honest, with it being Emmanuel Sanchez, this fight is going the distance. You know what I mean? Like, that is all he does. He always goes the distance. Yeah. Joshua Lazar saying, don't go betting against Patricio Pitbull Freire. I am 100% with you, my friend. I am not betting against this man. And even though you've got the younger, taller fighter, that usually is a recipe for success. I'm not interested in that plus 210. You all know me. I'm the dog hunter, right? Like, I always make an argument for the underdogs. I'm always chasing that value. I don't see it here. I think that Patricio is a solid parlay piece. And especially in Bellator, we've seen time and time again that parlay pieces are where it's at. They're so chalky, these fights. Really, that's it. That's all I got for you is the main event breakdown. I'm picking Patricio. I think he wins by decision. I do think Emmanuel Sanchez hangs around, but I wouldn't put it past a guy like Patricio to get the knockout because he's just so brutal. He's so vicious. That's what he does. I want to look through the card with you guys. I know this was a bit of a shorter episode this week, and I do apologize for not having a full-on, full Bellator card breakdown for you. But like I said, I think, I've had a bit of a rough skid lately. Y'all know that. You've seen it. And I come here openly, honestly sharing my record, my results with you all. So you've seen the skid that I've been on. And I think taking a little bit of a half week off, I'm going to have to start getting ready for UFC Vegas 23. But taking a little bit of time off to just relax and recover, I think is something I need to do that's important. But looking at the rest of the card, Jason Jackson taking on Neiman Gracie. Now, we have seen the Gracies just struggle lately in MMA. It's been a problem. The Gracies have had a very, very, very hard time. Most of them are not real, right? Most of them are not actual solid UFC talent that you're expecting to get it done, but they price them like they are. Neiman Gracie, I think, is legit. Like, this guy's This guy's ground game is nasty, and he's at a pick 'em against Jason Jackson. I cannot speak on Jason Jackson because I need to do my research. I know the name, but unfortunately my brain is not coming to me here, and I can't tell you anything about him off the top of my head. So blindly, I would lean to Neiman Gracie, but again, I got to do my research before I do anything there for you. Mike Hamel, Usman Nurmagomedov. Yes, Usman Nurmagomedov. It's like Kamaru and Khabib had a baby. With that kind of a name, he's a minus 800 favorite, as you would expect. And once again, don't know anything about Mike Hamel, so I'm going to have to look into that. But with that kind of a name, I would almost blindly parlay the minus 800 favorite. If your name is Usman Nurmagomedov, you're going in the parlay. I'm just done at that point. We've got, let's see here, Alejandra, Lara, Kana, Watanabe, Mads Burnell, Sol Rogers, Roman, Trevor Good. Man, I do not know a lot of these names. Roger Huerta on here taking on Chris Gonzalez as an underdog. Okay, I know Roger Huerta, but I don't know anything about Chris Gonzalez. I'm going to have to look into that one as well. So that's the big thing with Bellator is they're either names that you specifically recognize and are massive favorites, or the names you don't know and you've got to do a shit ton of research on. So there's probably some opportunities to make some money here on this card, but you really got to dig in. You got to find these people. You got to find the tape on these people and be able to be willing to sack up and take that big underdog value on these unknown fighters. Michael Lunday, my boy, thank you very much. I'm happy to hear that you got to join us live. How you doing today, my friend? How you doing today, my friend? I appreciate you. I'm glad you found some value in this episode today. Like I said, it was a bit of a different one, a bit of a weird one, but it was fun to talk about the Bellator tournament. That was really the big thing, is I wanted to break down the light heavyweight Grand Prix, and that was fun. It was fun to just kind of chat through it. And honestly, I haven't done a solo show in a long time, and just interacting with the chat, even though we had a smaller crew tonight for the live show, it was a good time to just kind of hang out and interact with people and see how everybody's doing. Once again, my guy, OG Wham. Everybody smash that like button for me. Thank you, my friend. Hey, this is odds.com, folks. I know this week was a little bit light, but next week we will be back. I will have the full card breakdown for you ready to go. And you know what? There's 106 of you still here with me live. I want some feedback, folks. I've been doing a long run of nothing but guests, and I don't have very many scheduled for the next couple of months. So do you guys want me to fill up the slate with guests? Because I think I have two. I have two guests that are scheduled for the next couple of events. And beyond that, I don't have anybody on the schedule. Do you guys like the solo shows? Do you want me to preserve a couple of solo shows where it's just me and you interacting with the chat one-on-one? You know, get some candles, get some nice dinner, have a little date like we used to when we were dating. Would you all prefer to have a couple solo shows in the next little run here? Or do you guys like the guests? Do you like the round table? And let me know who your favorite guest is. Slam the chat. Let me know if you want all the guests. And if you do want the guests, who do you want? And I'll see what I can do. Figured I might as well just leave it up to the chat and the comments here and give you guys a little bit of input here on the show. Because y'all know I do this for you. And without you guys, there wouldn't be a show. So thank you all so very, very much. And I will do what I can do. Looking forward to the feedback. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful week. Good luck on all of your degenerate betting. And give me a follow at Diehard MMA Pod on Twitter. If I make any actual moves over on the Bellator card, I will tweet those out so you guys know what my plays are. Otherwise, we're going to come back strong. We're going to come back hungry. And we are going to come back to kill at UFC Vegas 23. It's a great card with a lot of opportunities for betting. A lot of really great fights. Looking forward to it. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful week. Let's roll.